Hill to Wall Street. This is Politics and Profits with your host, Rick Amato.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Rick Amato. It's time for Politics and Profits.
We follow the trends on Capitol Hill that lead to the profits on Wall Street. We expose the hard facts of what your elected officials are doing when you're not looking. And we show you how you can profit from their politics. The American dream is alive and well, and you can be proud to call America your home. And now, it's Rick Amato.
Welcome to Politics and Profits. I'm Rick Amato. As we all know, we're living in a gig economy, and that gig economy keeps getting bigger and bigger every day, particularly, if you will, during this pandemic environment. Has that gig economy been more perhaps used, should I say, than any other time? But guess what? My next guest makes a wonderful observation in his book called Brainshare, How Business Owners Make More Money and Have More Time. How do you like that title? In that book, he points out that when you go to college, they teach you how to get a job, how to work for someone else. Or if you go to a business school, they teach you how to run a Fortune 50 company. Very rarely, if ever, do you see anyone any school teaching the curriculum of how to run a small business. There's a lot more to it than the glamour appears to be. Join me this time from Santa Clara, California, is the owner of ActionCoachSC, Joe Siecinski. Joe, good to have you with us.
Rick, it's an honor and privilege to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
It's our pleasure. You know, your background, you ran a major department, as I understand, at a large corporation, and you made that.
Yes,
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
You made that transition from the executive world, where business schools teach you at school, what to do, to the gig economy, where no one is teaching, and you discovered there's a lot to be learned. There's a lot that's different that no one is talking about.
That's right, Rick. It's a very different world in the corporate world when you've got resources and tools and systems and processes to go into a small business where you have very little of anything, and you've got to be a lot of different people. So when you're running a small business, you may have to be the CEO and the VP of marketing and the VP of sales and the chief operating officer and the CFO and the head janitor. And running a small business is one of the hardest things there is to do.
You say that the most important thing is the utilization of time.
That's right, Rick. As the world changes and continues to evolve, and this is why I wrote my book, Brainshare, because you've kind of got to be all of these different things running a small business. Or even in a gig economy, you've still got to have the systems, processes, tools, and structure in place to be successful. So in a gig economy, you've still got to have your marketing time allocated and focus as a marketing manager. And you've got to have your sales time allocated to be the sales manager. And the operations to actually deliver your product or service. And your CEO time, that strategic direction of where are you taking your business, your life, and what's going to happen and what direction are you going into strategically. And then, of course, your finances. You've got to know your numbers. Most business owners don't like to look at their finances, but that's critical. It's like your report card. And then, of course, all of your administrative tasks. Allocating the time appropriately to accomplish those is a key success factor for your business and your life. And also, by the way, you've got to allocate time for recreation and for your family. If you're not, you might miss out on a lot of things.
You just might. And Joe, you said you got to utilize that time, divide that time. It would appear to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it would appear to me that most small business owners are going to devote a majority of their time on marketing, on sales, on business development. What comes to my mind when you say spend time on administration, spend time, are you saying take one day a week and that morning you devote it? You're devoting it to your finances.
Well, what I recommend is breaking up into small time blocks. And when I say time blocks, usually 45 minutes to an hour and a half to stay in a specific modality. So you're going to be VP of marketing for an hour and a half. You take a little break, so change modalities and go into operations modality maybe. or sales modality. But if you're mixing modalities, you go from CEO mode to sales mode, you're not going to be successful, because you're going to be thinking like a CEO versus thinking like a salesperson, and you're going to lose deals. If you're not thinking like a marketing person to get leads in, you're going to be thinking like an operations person. You're not going to be successful. You've got to change modalities. And as you change modalities, your physical body may change too, because you're thinking differently. Your brain has got to think differently in these different modalities. And that's what I talk about in my book.
And are you saying that those modalities should all be spent during a workday?
Well, you could do it in a workday. It all depends on your specific biorhythms. You know, when do you have the most energy? When do you don't have energy? What do you look at? What's most effective for you as an individual? There is no set process for someone. Some people like to do, one day of everything. Some people like to break it up. A lot of people like to do marketing in the morning, sales, and then operations in the afternoon. It really depends on you, and that's what we dive into when I work with my clients.
Yeah. What seems to be the biggest ha-ha moment with your clients when you work with them?
When they really realize that most of the time they're switching between modalities, they're inefficient as can be. Every time you get an interruption, you lose 3 to 7 minutes. Every time you try to switch modalities, you lose time. Let's say you're working on your finances and you get interrupted with an operations issue. It takes you so much time to get back there. Most people lose about 50% of their time switching modalities.
Yeah.
Imagine what would happen if you put that back into the business where it needs to be. I'm averaging getting clients 8 hours back in their work week.
Wow.
Imagine, that's a full day a week. Whenever we start utilizing our time and using our brain the way it's supposed to be utilized, things get much more efficient and you get a lot more done.
And I will tell you, Joe, we've talked off camera, one of the most draining things for me is switching from this to that instantly without that separation as you advise.
Take breaks. That helps you switch modalities. But I've had clients that have lost deals because instead of thinking like a salesperson, they were thinking like an operations person, and they lost the deal. I got lots of stories on that one.
Wow. I'm going to ask you to keep your answer brief in the interest of time here. You say calendaring, the use of a calendar is one of the most important tools.
That's absolutely correct. Whether you're using, there's a lot of different calendaring tools out there. I'm not tied to what one you're using. It's allocating your time to get things accomplished. Okay. The to-do list is probably the worst thing to do because that thing just keeps getting longer and longer and longer, and then you throw it away and you start all over. Here's some interesting stats. If you want to get something done, and there's an 80% probability if it's on your calendar. There's a 17% probability if you're using a list.
Wow.
If you want to get something done, put it on your calendar.
And just like the earlier comment that we're taught in school how to get a job, we're always told, make that to-do list.
And a lot of my clients and a lot of people use to-do lists. But when you actually start allocating the time, those things start happening. So I really don't recommend a to-do list. I recommend actually allocating the time, and then it gets done.
Speaking of time, we're out of time. But if you want to make a final comment, Joe, you don't have to, but if you want to wrap everything up in a 30-second comment.
It's my honor and privilege to help businesses. If I could do anything for you, please feel free to give us a call and or visit our website. And always a free consultation to help businesses out, especially in these challenging times.
All right, we got the website across the bottom of the TV screen. I've picked up your book, Brainshare, How Business Owners Make More Money and Have More Time. I've just begun the book. I'm very impressed. Joe Siecinski, owner of ActionCoachSC, author of the book Brainshare. First time on the show, not the last. She'll be back as a regular contributor. Valuable information. We thank you for joining us.
Rick, thank you.
Broadcasting from the Liberatory CPA Studios. Back after this.
Politics and Profits with Rick Amato is brought to you by Liberatory Accounting, the IRS problem solvers. To find out how Liberatory Accounting can help you, call 877-6-SOLVER. That's 877-6-SOLVER.